Oh, hello there, everybody, and welcome to episode number 94 of FinalBossTV, your WoW endgame rating show. I'm your host. My name is Adam K, aka Bay, and today we're doing another Warlords of Ketchup. This is episode number 3 of 8 in total, so there are many more to come in the future. Our first healer catch-up will be next week. Details on the classes we're going to be talking to later in the episode, but today is the Avoidance tanks, which was going to have a blood DK on as well. But there's this game that just came out with like a new season, like 12 or something. It's called like Diablo Things. I don't know. Maybe you heard of it. But that episode will have Blood DK. I'll just roll that into the plate tanks coming up in the future, of course. But today is going to be Guardian Druid and a Brewmaster Monk, or otherwise known as Guard. They're just called Guard, I think. But without that, without further ado, let's get into who our guests are today's show. Returning back from Guardian Druids, oh god, many moons ago. There's Khaelyn. Hello!
Hi.
You ready to talk about demon hunters?
Yes, I'm a demon hunter. I wear a bear onesie.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, it's a sham.
Well, how do your tattoos show?
With difficulty.
Holes?
Yeah, you carve the...
Just carve holes in it. It's not a very effective onesie.
Does it have footies, though?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's important. Very good, very good.
For my, like, hoof feet when I transform. Right. It's important.
Does it automatically, like, Bruce Banner when you metamorphosis? So, like, when your body gets bigger, does it just mold with it?
It's a secret?
Oh.
I don't like to reveal my onesie secrets, so, you know. Stay tuned, next expansion.
Okay. And joining us for the first time, even though his guide's been in chat for a long time, there's Misume. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Are you ready to talk about the other real hero class coming in Legion?
There's another real hero class?
It's the surgeon, remember? The
Oh yeah, the Illidan healer. I forgot about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna be re-rolling to it. I have my tattoos, but they ruined my employability, so I couldn't get any guilds, unfortunately. So I'm not gonna be raiding next expect. But
ah, crap. Well, apparently your guild's in chat. They don't want you raiding next expansion anyway.
Yeah,
so
they've denounced me. It's fine. It's fine. If anyone wants a bad brewmaster, then just hit me up. I'll do it for you. It's fine.
Oh, okay. That's fair. Well, that's fine. Alrighty then. So I'm gonna go back around a little bit. Oop, that's the wrong button right there. But just so you can reintroduce yourselves to Chatroom and why should they give a hoot and a holler about why you have anything to say about the class you're representing today. I'll go back with Khaelyn first. What do you do for the bears?
I write stuff about mythic stuff.
Nice.
On a website called The Inconspicuous Bear, and people started listening to me because no one else is writing stuff about stuff.
Ooh.
So that's what I do. I'm in a guild that's working on Mythic Archimond, and yeah.
How's that phase 2 coming?
It's really pretty, actually. I get really distracted by like all the rock chaos going in random directions. So it's not scary like everyone thinks. It's really easy.
I don't know how. You're outside the raid for half the fight, soaking fire, so it's fine. Like,
yeah, I'm a fire. I'm pretty much a bona fide like firefighter. I'm like Smokey the Bear. It's good.
Did your raid have to go back to like Mimron to learn how to do firefighting to do Mythic Archimond? Is that a requirement?
No.
Oh, it's not.
I mean, like I don't even fight the fire. I pick it up, and then I run somewhere else, and then I drop it, and I pick it up again, and then I run somewhere else and I drop it. So I don't actually fight it.
How do you drop fire? How do you? Is that like
fiery poops?
Yeah. Exactly. Misume, sir, how about you? Brewmaster monk stuff.
I've been writing guides for Brewmasters since Warlords dropped, because the ones that were out were kind of not up to date, and I guess nobody bothered to bring them up to date. So I've been writing guides I wrote them for Summonstone, I moderate for Icy Veins, etc. And I'm obviously keeping on my Google Doc now that Summonstone's gone down. But my guild killed Mythic Archimond 3 weeks ago, I think. So we've been kind of relaxing since then. I've been playing a lot of D3 since it just came out for the first time since Reaper of Souls, but it's going good. And now I get to farm this raid for 20 weeks or something until Legion comes out, so that's fine. luck
Do
to me.
you've gone back in? You haven't taken all this time off, right? You've gotten a rekill, I assume.
Yeah, we actually took a week off after we killed it for the first time and just kind of raided it because normally we raid 5 days, Sunday to Thursday. I think I can't tell time because, I'm British, whatever. But we raided from Sunday and Monday as opposed to doing it on like our normal raid days, and we still rekilled it. Like it's not too bad to rekill. So we're currently sitting on 3 kills in 3 weeks, which is pretty decent, I guess.
How long of an encounter is it with like the gear as it propagates right now? Like because it's kind of like a Black Hand-esque fight, right? Where it's not Shaw of Fear would last 10 minutes. It's a pretty quick
It's
fight,
about
though,
10
right?
minutes, the actual fight itself.
Oh,
I
is it?
think
Okay.
both our kills, all our kills so far have been about 10 minutes long.
Okay.
I don't think we've beaten that timer yet, but it's whatever.
Hmm.
You can there's a couple of different ways to speed it up and things like that along the way. Obviously, gear makes certain phases and certain DPS checks a joke, but a lot of the time you do still have to kind of sit around on your thumbs waiting until you can DPS again, unfortunately, but it's whatever.
Yeah. Are you noticing any? Because I know back with different fights had different like layering of like when you get to like hold DPS and like wait for some cooldowns to time up because like your DPS pushes the fight too fast. Do you think that's going to be a problem for Mythic Archimon probably?
The
For any points?
only part you really need to stop is in P1. That's the only kind of part you really need to stop. And
Yeah.
we were originally like lusting P1, and then we decided not to because we were sitting around for about 20 seconds not doing anything. But that's going to be the kind of major one with all the gear and things like that. People are just going to be kind of sitting around, unfortunately, for half of P1, waiting until desecrates and things go out. But I don't think it's going to be quite as bad as Black Hand was. There's like a lot of the different phases. It doesn't matter too much if you push too early, but P1's the kind of big one, I'd definitely say. It's not as bad as Mana Off, where if you push too early at one point, then everything's over, unfortunately. But
Yeah. Those are always the weird intricacies to find out about an encounter. Like your first kill is totally different than your farm kills because like things change as you get more gear and timings get different, and you're used to having a certain cooldown here, but you don't have it anymore. So like
I think
waiting.
Tyrant and Mana Off are definitely the worst for that this tier. Definitely the worst. Tyrant is like a different fight every week you get to it because your rings are 3 eye levels up and you're pushing at different times.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Edicts are
yeah.
coming out at different parts, and Mana Off is just honestly, you sit around waiting for so long on Mana Off at some parts. It's unfortunate, but you can. Yeah.
My guild Crisp just killed Tyrant this reset, just
Oh, nice.
Thursday. So we haven't experienced the farm yet, so we'll have to see how that works as gear propagates forward. But I've heard that you can't. We already did the little waiting strat in the first place for waiting to
Yeah.
not get the all the effects at one time. So
Well, we actually 5 healed Tyrant, I think, on our kill. For our first one, we 5 heal it on farm, and like a lot of guilds 4 heal it, I'm pretty sure, so they can beat the kind of Edict combo with Tempest, but we just kind of like brute forced that, I guess. That's how we went through.
fair
I mean,
enough.
it worked out for us, but like I said, I mean, we double disced it on our kill, like I mentioned to you, so a lot of people might have issues with our strat for that, but yeah. Tyrant and Mana Off, that's, yeah, the two
Slightly
you have to wait.
scumbag strat a little bit. It sounds like it is a little bit, but so
Maybe.
when last we spoke, this works a little better with Khaelyn. Of course, we'll get to Brewmaster in just a moment, but I guess how is the tier 18 change for HFC gone for Guardian Druids? Like a gearing focus, how is the set bonus working out? How is enchanting and gemming changed? Has anything really changed in the last couple of months? What are you seeing for that echelon from your side of things, Khaelyn?
Nothing changes for you when you're actually playing. Your rotation is the same. Even gearing is the same. You still want to go for multi-strike mastery. Personally, I still prefer to go for a multi-strike threshold of like 20-25% depending on raid buffs, and then go into mastery. But it's pretty much whatever you're comfortable with. Otherwise, nothing's really changed. The tier 18 bonus is it's pretty good. I mean, the 2 set's pretty good. The 4 set's kind of up to you. I use the 4 set not totally actively all the time. I use it by accident, but it works out okay.
How does it work out for just to recap it?
It's is when your Savage Defense is running, your Frenzied Regen cost is cut in half. So on a fight like I don't know, just a fight where you have it up and you're still taking lots of damage because you suck at dodging or something, you can spam yourself without too much of a cost, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
It's like a plug and play kind of 4-set. You don't need to pay
Yeah, I mean,
attention
it doesn't change really the way that you play very much. Sometimes when I have my Savage Defense up, I'll hit my FR a little bit harder, but I don't know. Yeah.
But not a crazy change. What
No.
offset piece are you running for
I'm running offset Helm,
Helm?
and I do take the 4-set, so I take the Helm off of Zul'Arak.
Okay. And when you say again, like there's like this between 20 and 25% multi-strike
That's what I
area
like.
you want to get to.
I mean, really what it boils down to is Mastery is going to make it so your healers don't have to heal you as much, but Multi-Strike is going to make it so that your healers have to heal you more, but they have a lot more time to do it. So it's not even so much yourself, it's what your healing comp with you is as well. So
Now, speaking of the multi-strike shenanigans, recently after some guilds obviously abused this HP pool that you guys had, Ursa Major's multi-strike stacking window was nerfed. Like the timing of it before the health falls off was cut down a bit. How big of a change in overall effective HP was this? And I would assume Guardian Druids are still totally fine, just not raid bosses in your raid, right?
yeah, everyone kind of freaked out when that happened, and they really shouldn't have, because you don't need 4 million hit points. I'm sorry. Like,
But why
it's
not?
not cool. It's fun, but it's not cool.
I could do with 4 million hit points. I can tell you that now.
That's 4 million hit points that your healers have to heal up, and that kind of sucks for them. But to be effective, I mean, even just getting up to like 20 to 40% additional health from multi-strike, which is what we're getting now after the nerf, it's completely fine. You don't need more than that. It was absolutely absurd what we were getting before. So the nerf was totally justified, and it hasn't reduced the effectiveness of multi-strike at all. You still want to get it.
How much HP are you seeing now in raids like progressing on?
On a single target fight, I'm usually sitting anywhere from like 850 to 900k. Multi-target, you'll get up to 1 million, depending if you're not using the Tyrant Trinket.
Okay.
But, yeah,
Which
which is like lame. So
is, well, it's lame, but that's how you propagated this huge HP pool, though.
yeah,
Or help
yeah. I
propagate,
mean,
anyway.
that's how you help get up there. I mean, with that trinket and the way that Ursa Major used to be, once you get so high, you're like never going to drop below that 60% threshold, which I'm pretty sure was the idea,
Right.
which is super wrong. So the nerf is good,
Yeah.
despite everyone freaking out. The nerf is good.
Yeah, what's weird, too, though, is that I know that Bears sort of had, because we talked a lot more about BRF when you were first in the show, they were not like a amazing place in Blackrock Foundry. They were like, all right. But did Tier 18 really kind of fix a lot of the issues you guys had? And then, of course, they like overbuffed you and they toned it back down. So
Yeah.
they find the spot to get Bear Druids to like feel like you're not Tier 17 style.
I mean, I felt fine in BRF. I know a lot of people didn't, and I think it's because we don't have a lot of gimmicky mechanics, and people like gimmicks. So I felt fine. I thought we were fine. I know a lot of other people thought we were fine. So the buffs were like nice. I mean, having my active mitigation suddenly reduce 20% damage, like that's pretty cool, I guess. Did we need it? I don't think so, but I'll take it. It definitely put us in a lot better of a place in other people's eyes, which I think is what's had the biggest effect.
Right.
Us seeming like we're really cool now.
Well, there's this
We're
weird,
always cool, okay?
there's a weird like flavor of the month style balance with tanks, it seems.
Yeah, there is.
Like it goes back and forth normally between the like tiers as like the gear changes and stuff like that. So it's, I mean, the point you brought up with gimmicks is funny because I'm gonna toss it over to Misume now for the same questions
Oh yeah.
as a quote unquote more gimmicky class in the Brewmaster monk. So how is Tier 18 panned out for the Brewmaster?
It's odd, I'll be honest. I mean, we're definitely one of the strongest tanks out there, I'll be honest. Like Brewmaster, but it's unfortunately not really strong for the reasons we were strong in BRF. In BRF, we were just ridiculously strong because stagger affected everything.
Right.
Like pretty much everything. Like Gruel slices, Blackhand siege engines, Black Hand Impales, Black Hand Smashes. Everything was basically Black Hand was affected by stagger, but they
Right,
kind of
right.
removed it, which means one, well, not really removed it. They reduced the amount that we actually can stagger passively, and they also made that it doesn't work on certain boss abilities anymore. So things like if you went back into BRF and you went to do Gruel on a Brewmaster, Inferno Strike wouldn't be affected by stagger, whereas previously it would. So it's a pretty hefty nerf in that degree, I guess. But I think it's because Blizzard realized that stagger in an actual as an actual ability itself is ridiculously hard to balance. It's always going to be either the most broken ability in the game, as in you can stagger every single thing, or it's going to be incredibly weak in the case of you can't stagger certain boss abilities. I died so many times when we were doing Mana off Mythic because if my Elusive Brew, which is obviously the only active mitigation that's flagged as active mitigation for Brewmaster, if I
Right.
didn't dodge the Glaive Toss, I was hit for like a full 700k. So it was brutal. But as an actual tank, I think we're still incredibly strong. Focus is more towards mastery now than it was before because we have a much bigger reduced, we have our like base stagger pool reduced, so we want to kind of build up a mastery more for survival. Once like you feel comfortable with that though, and the gear you can get, you just want to go crit and do some big damage. That's all you need to do. The tier 18 bonus was actually, I'm surprised it wasn't nerfed. It reduces your guard by 5 seconds, like the cooldown of it, whenever you
For
use
expel
expel
harm.
harm.
Yeah.
Which leads to some kind of really cheesy things you can do. I know, like on Archimond, I was waiting for a Doomcaller to come out and like hit me below 50% HP, and then I just expel harm, and it would be like a back up to full, and it would be like a free guard like generated from that. So there's a lot of cheesy things you can do, and I think really that's kind of where the problems come. Blizzard has realized that if they reduce stagger too much, Brewmasters don't really have anything, so they just made guard the most broken thing in the game at the moment. So I'd like to go back to kind of MOP where both were kind of worked in tangency there, but at the moment you just hit guard, you live, mastery increases guard, so go mastery, and there you go. That's all you need to do as a brewmaster in that tier 18.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if we'll be seeing any changes to that system, or because I'm sure they're testing things out and figuring out how they want to make the Demon Hunter tank work, because it'll be it's a dual wielding tank basically, and it's going to be probably or avoidance base like dodge parry, maybe some weird shield mechanic I assume, and uh, the the way that Brewmaster works is so maybe the most gimmicky class that you have to deal with right now. Whereas either you're incredibly weak, like your beginning of this expansion,
Yeah.
Brewmasters were like paper plates, just
Well,
punched right through them.
I
And
would I would
now,
massively argue with that. Brewmasters,
yeah,
honestly, at the beginning of the expansion, were probably one of the best we've been. And people whined about it because they didn't understand how Brewmaster had changed since
mm,
MP, and everyone kind of went into like they took Chi Explosion, which is primarily a DPS talent, and they took all these different DPS things. They gemmed for crit like they did in MOP,
ah,
and they forgot that a Brewmaster or any tank at the beginning of an expansion is going to be different from a full BIS tank at the end raid of an expansion. So all these brewmasters kind of geared fully for DPS, gem for DPS, took stats for DPS, went into a heroic and got one shot, and then they whined until we got kind of buffed into absurdity. I was actually going to play my paladin for when we were progressing in Highmole originally, and I actually ended up re-rolling I think a week before Highmole dropped because I saw the brewmaster buffs, and I was like, no, I'm going back to brewmaster now. And brewmaster at the beginning of the tier or beginning of the expansion is probably the most balanced that we've been this entire X pack, but unfortunately we kind of got buffed into absurdity, and that's why we then got nerfed into absurdity. We kind of like yo-yo between the two at the moment, but
it
I
seems because Blizzard bounces around, obviously not high end mythic rating, right?
yeah
So that the pendulum swings a lot in more of like our neck of the woods.
yeah
I would even say more in your so than mine. So it's gonna be interesting how they see when they introduce another tank to the game, because we haven't had that since now well over a year plus 2 years now.
yeah
So since MOP, so we've had this time to really figure out these five tanks and the echelon that the five of the current ones work in Warlords. But Warlords has been so back and forth
yeah
that because you talk about
I
stagger and you talk about like how it's been
yeah
like hard nerf to not work on certain abilities now.
Yeah, it's been reduced. Beforehand, Stagger used to affect pretty much every boss ability, every physical boss ability. So, like I said, Growl it worked on, Chromog it worked on, like on Chromog's Slam. So even if you weren't hit by it, that's how it worked. Um, Blackhand was the big one where it worked on, because that's why a lot of guilds, for their first kills, they just actually stood in the in like the corner of the room and let the siege engine hit them, because you could actually stagger the siege engine. So it was kind of dumb. Like you'd be taking 60% less damage from the siege engine than any other tank, and that's
Yeah.
why a lot of people did that there.
We tanked
And
it.
yeah, exactly. And they removed it. They said, no, look, that's not right. It shouldn't be that kind of case. And they took out obviously the ability for Stagger to be affected by certain boss mechanics, which meant that it kind of went complete in the opposite direction. So there's certain abilities. There's not many though, I'll tell you in this raid, but there's certain abilities in this raid that if you don't manage to dodge them, if you don't have anything up, it'll just kill you in one shot. Like Mana Off being the kind of big example of that there. It's because it's kind of because of the way that health pools have worked out as well in Warlords. Like everyone's kind of like twice as much health effectively than they were in MOP. That's kind of why Stagger was just ridiculous. But I I think it was better at the beginning of the X-Pack when we had a reasonable amount of Stagger, and then like I said, they kind of yo-yoed both ways with that one there. I'd like it to be like because playing D3 at the moment, I'd like tanks to be like D3, where if everyone is overpowered, then nobody's overpowered. Like that's kind of how it works there. Like you just get it to that kind of state where everyone's completely responsible for their own survival, and I'll be fine with that there.
I
But it's
think they definitely need to figure out a way that the communication and understanding of how what a tank's like active mitigation responses to abilities are, and then reactions or preparations to things probably need to be defined a little better, which is weird for the avoidance tanks because, which we'll probably get into on the plate tank episode, like if you are a warrior, you can block or barrier.
yeah.
And like that's like you know how to go into different parts of a damage fight. And then of course you have like really flat, understandable cooldowns. Like I get more health with this one. I take less damage with this one, right?
It also works like on with that method though. Those also work on a charge system. Like you can always
Right.
have a stack of you can always have a shield block available. You can always have
Yeah.
is it Savage Defense? Yeah, Savage Defense, whatever
Yeah.
it is. You can always have
Mm-hmm.
that available. Or Survival Instincts, whichever one it is. I think it's Survival Instincts is like the
Actually,
shield wall kind of one.
both have
Yeah,
charges.
whatever.
So
So they have charges. Brune Tap has a charge,
Yep.
and well, Shield of Righteous I guess doesn't really count. But
Just combo
monks
points. Yeah.
yeah, monks are kind of the only one who their actual active mitigation relies on RNG to get it up, which I mean, whatever. I'm not gonna leave that one, but you actually have to rely on your crits in order to get stacks of elusive brew,
Yeah.
and you also have to kind of like hope that when you use elusive brew, it actually works, because it's the only thing that's flagged as active mitigation at the moment. Like it's the only thing that's flagged as that. So for things like Mana Rust, Glaive Thrust, for things like Hurog's I can't remember what it's called, Shred Armor, I think it's called. You have to have that up, or you'll have a debuff applied. I actually did that on my DK in like an alt run, and when you use Death Strike on a DK, you get a 3 second period afterwards where it counts as you having used active mitigation. So I just had that up the entire fight. Whereas on my monk, I actually have to kind of rely on having stacks of that available there, and then I have to rely on those stacks actually working when I use them. So it's kind of RNG on top of RNG, and we're the only tank that I guess doesn't have an on-demand like flat damage reduction, I guess, except for like a talent that we can talent into. We're the only one that doesn't have a baseline, so
Well, I
it's a
mean,
bit
you
odd
have
there.
there's guard, but guard doesn't
Yeah.
count.
Well, the major problem with guard as well is that people say guard's overpowered. If you pop a guard on its own, it's about 180k.
Mm-hmm.
That's not much. Like, and a fight like I said, Manoroff is the biggest example because I just hate that fight tanking it as a monk. It's disgusting. If you guard for the glaive thrust or whatever it's called, and then but you haven't been tanking the boss because you know how you need to taunt after your co-tank gets massive blasted, etc. If you guard for that, it's 180k. You're still going to get hit if you don't manage to dodge it for about 700k, and that's the majority of your health pool. I actually, to get around that, I would go and stand inside like the infernos that spawn, so that I would hit resolve cap and then move out and guard for like 2 million or whatever it was. But it felt like it's odd that Blizzard tried to get us away from standing in fire as a tank in this
You
X pack,
had
and
to
then we
stand in
have to
fire.
go and do it now to actually live. But
Do you have to do any weird things like that with bears, Khaelyn?
no,
no,
it's
because
so
bears
easy.
just
It's
don't get
great.
hit.
I mean, you
Like,
just
they-
put up Savage Defense, right?
Yeah, I put up Savage Defense. I sit there. It
Yeah.
like even if my co-tank doesn't taunt off me for the second glaive thrust, it's okay because Savage Defense is 6 seconds. It's great.
You just kind of chill there for it.
That was like actually my job on Manoroth. I was the glaive bitch. I literally took every single, well, every other, but
Every other.
I
Yeah.
didn't have any fun jobs. I didn't get to leave from in front of the boss. My view is really boring. My kill video is really boring. But I
Well,
mean,
it's no more than like your kill video from like Mythic Blackhand, where all you see
oh
is the
yeah.
wall,
against the
All
wall
I
the
saw,
entire
no,
time.
I saw a tank.
the
not just
tank
a
skull,
wall.
and that's all. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Tank POVs.
I mean, I don't know. It's really not hard, and we're a great tank to sit there and eat the glaives. So
yeah,
plus we can like charge back and
the only thing I can really equate the monk problem to is maybe prop paladin, where their active mitigation, of course, Shield of the Righteous, which depends on just GCDing into abilities and timing combo points and holy power,
Yeah.
basically. But that
The
is
thing
just
is-
like
yeah,
you're going
yeah,
to
the-
be using abilities anyway.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it's-
I mean, with Shield of the Righteous, though, you can sit on Holy Power for it.
Oh,
And
of course.
Holy Power as well as Shield of the Righteous, you don't need to kind of rely on RNG to get Holy Power. That's the only difference. But it's similar in that they can't like go into a fight immediately on the pull and pop it. Like,
Oh, yeah,
but
that's
I mean,
true.
if you're doing that, you're probably not tanking right. Like, but you know, it's whatever.
I mean, and right now, Holy Paladins, prop paladins are swimming in it with their set bonus and resetting.
Yeah.
You know.
You just hit Avengers Shield the entire time. My
Yeah,
prop paladin at the
basically.
moment, like, it's just 2 rows of Avengers Shield on the buttons, and really, it's going pretty well.
It's going pretty well. Yeah. Which that leads us right well into like the tanking hierarchy now in Hellfire. Whereas, what are your thoughts on the feasibility of all the 5 tank classes? I'm sure both of you are having no issues. I think in the grand scheme of the balance right now, I think outside of some small problem areas of like a certain encounter, certain tanks fall away. But Khaelyn, what do you think of like the overall? Like, can you use any tank, any combination? Are there better ones that work other ones, or are Prot Warriors just like the weakest tank right now, which is weird because they weren't before?
yeah. One thing I've noticed is Prot Warriors are kind of lagging behind. I'm not really sure why I don't play a Prot Warrior tank with a Prot Warrior, and he's really great at threat, so he's got that going for him. But I mean, they can. There's not really a fight that they can't do. We did actually sit our Prot Warrior for our Windwalker Monk on his off spec for Tyrant, just because
Yikes.
we knew that, yeah, that last phase is really rough on Prot Warriors, and there's a lot of synergy between Guardians and Monks on that fight, so it worked out well for us. But I mean, other than that, no, I mean, all tanks can do all fights, but I think that's the case every expansion, and some can do it better than others, obviously. I mean,
I think Tyrant's the only example there.
I think,
where
yeah.
2 tanks are worse than the others by a huge margin. Because DK
Yeah.
and Warriors are disgusting on that fight, but everything else is pretty much fine.
Yeah, I think that's the only fight where I would ever say you might want to pick your tanks and choose. But everything else, no. I mean, we're all capable. I haven't played my alts in like a long time, so I can't actually say from firsthand experience because I've been ignoring my paladin because I didn't like her before all the buffs, and then the buffs came out and everyone's like, you should play your paladin, but then I didn't want to. I don't know.
Now, yeah, I mean, and then assuming you brought up that like Blood DK and Prot Warrior have issues on like a part of like Mythic Tyrant Valhari, is that because they? I mean, shield barriers in a weird place. Obviously, absorbs are a big deal. Having a larger health pool that gets shrank means you don't have as tiny of a health pool as a Guardian Druid. So what do you think? What's the issue with that fight in particular, though? Is that just the HP?
Prot Warriors have incredible. I'm pretty sure Prot Warriors have. Like I said, I don't play my Prot Warrior much. It's eye level 674 or something like that. But Prot Warriors have a really low health pool compared to the other tanks. So, and as well as that, like shield block, it's just not that great in the final phase, from what I understand. We had issues. Well, a lot of guilds actually before us had issues doing Tyrant with a Blood DK. I think Danish Terrace's Blood DK actually like rage quit on stream from the guild because he was doing Tyrant and died, and he got into P3 and died and just like rage quit from the guild, things like that, just left. Which, I mean, Tyrant as a Blood DK, yeah, because Blood DK's you can't obviously have something like Rude Tap up for the majority of that phase, which is a shame. You kind of just need to rely on externals, and as well as that, the Kilrog Trinket to kind of live through that. My friend at the moment is doing Tyrant progression without the Kilrog Trinket, and it's disgusting for her whenever she gets into that phase there.
Which Trinket's the Kilrog one?
It's the Warlords and Seeing Eye. It's the
Okay.
haste trinket that reduces the damage you take based on your health pool.
Right.
But it's like based on your health pool after the hit is applied. So if you get hit for 100% of your health, it would be effective for like I think it's 20% is the mythic trinkets damage reduction.
Mhm.
That's kind of how it works there. So if it was actually broken in the PTR where it didn't have a cap, so if you got hit by something that would hit you for like 3,000% of your health, it would actually be 100% damage reduction. So you could just like stand there and use that trinket and live the entire time. But yeah, yeah, that's I guess why DKs are weak. In terms of actual balance, though, I would say this is probably the most balanced tanks have been in a while. After certain tanks get their set bonuses,
Right.
I think paladins are a little bit weak without their set bonus. Monks are I can tell you now I couldn't do Archimand on my monk if I didn't have that set bonus. I also couldn't do Tyrant on my monk if I didn't have that set bonus. The 4-piece bonus is just so strong. Especially on Tyrant because it brings you below 50% HP in P2 for the entire phase.
Right.
So you can just sit there and expel harm the entire time and like top the healing charts by a mile. I think I did like 250k HPS in that phase, just like sustained. But those are the two I think need their 4-piece bonus definitely. I don't know about the warrior bonus. I know DKs don't use their bonus as a whole.
I heard, yeah.
And bears, I don't really know about their bonus as well there. That's the only thing I can think of there. But at the moment, everything's balanced except bears are a little bit above there.
I mean, we had no issues outside of, I think Tyrant was the only time that Mass, our prop warrior, had a lot of random issues. And it was mostly the transition from phase 2 to 3. It was almost like every time we were moving for the first bulwark, he would just die. Like multiple pulls in a row. Whereas our prop paladin was pretty much fine all the time. So I can only imagine that being able to have guard up a lot when you have low health, or just having a huge health pool, which makes me wonder why blood decay. That's kind of why I wish Trox was here to kind of chime in on that. I guess
it's mostly because I don't think Death Strike's that great in the last phase.
You overheal a lot, I'd imagine.
No. Yeah.
You overheal a lot, and yeah, I would assume that the shield doesn't do enough.
Not much, I don't believe. I know certain DKs like Lazel was kind of scumming it up with double mastery and bonus armor trinkets for that fight, but that's about all I can remember there.
Interesting. So I guess before I move on to the trinket stuff, I want to kind of back up. We talked about them a little bit as like a jibby jab, like a fun part, but do you both think, what are your thoughts going in the future for the next tank coming, the Demon Hunter? The Vengeance is the name of their spec that they tank on.
I want to play a Demon Hunter.
you want to? I mean, yeah. As a tank, I'm sure you want to play other tanks, but like, do you feel like the game needs a 6th tank?
Honestly, no.
Yeah.
But do I want a 6th tank? Yes, I would like a 6th tank.
Okay.
I mean, I primarily play tanks. I have a Hunter, which is technically a tank, but yeah, it doesn't really need a 6th tank. It doesn't really need a 1700 melee DPS either, but I mean, I would quite like a new tank just to play around with. Plus, we're not going to get Vengeance as in the attack power buff coming back in the game, so being able to play a tank that's called Vengeance is the next best thing. So that's my reason for it, at least.
I honestly think it's kind of like a funny jab at that, because Vengeance is back, boys, but it's, the name of the
But
spec.
It's not quite, unfortunately.
Yeah. Khaelyn, what do you think?
I mean, I'll try one out, see how I like it. If I like it, I'll play it. If I don't, I won't. The fact that it's leather doesn't even really bother me because there's already monks and bears. What's another class with leather on it? Whatever. I don't know. I mean, it's just like a monk, but dressed up with tattoos and like more naked.
That's
so.
That is.
It's pretty much what
Can
I'm
someone
seeing.
get that quoted on and trending on Twitter? That's pretty much the best way I've ever heard monk summarize. It's pretty great.
I mean, that's what a Demon Hunter is to me. So having another class that's like that doesn't really affect me in any way. They look fun, so I'll try them out for fun's sake. It doesn't bother me that they're a new class. If I was a melee DPS, I could see that being really annoying, especially with like survival hunters getting all up in their space. But
they're either going to be competent and nobody's going to really care, or they're going to be absurdly broken and screw up every boss mechanic that you can think of. That's kind of what I would say.
Absolutely. Like, there's no other way about it. I mean, it's I don't know if I hope they don't make it like that, because I would really, from like a progression standpoint, I would really not want to see like the first world kills on like Gul'dan and Xavius, like everything is double Demon Hunter tanked, because we might see it. I just hope we don't see it.
Well, Paragon are the only guild I think that's really taken on the like flavor of the month tank to an absurd degree when they've gone with like 2 of everyone. I mean, they went with 2 monks, but the thing is that their tanks are absolutely incredible anyway.
Sure.
I think it's Setcha. I can't remember how to pronounce his name, and Fraggy. Like Fraggy absolutely dominated in High Mall and things like that. Like their tanks are incredible anyway, so they can play anything, and it just works for them. So it's I think a lot of guilds really though. I hope that Demon Hunters are in the case of you might maybe not want to bring them to cutting edge mythic progression. Like they're not going to be kind of like world first tanks, but still viable, if you know what I mean. Like I don't want them to be completely broken like DKs were, or like monks not really were, but were in kind of tier 15 and tier 16. Like I don't want them to just be broken straight out the gates, unfortunately. It'll and then just lead to theirs coming, but yeah.
So, I think my problem is that they're going to be so popular that every single person is going to be a Demon Hunter tank, and then you're going to have no tanks that are not Demon Hunter. Yeah, see, he's already got his. It's like
my name's saved server. Already.
Yeah.
Sephiroth with like 7 different accent marks. Like
don't do that. Gross. All right, so let's talk about some trinkets, and then we'll move into the orange ring real quick here. So, how are your Archimon trinkets panning out? Are respectively for Guardian Druids and then in Brewmaster Monk, are they like set it and forget style? Are they situational? I know that like the warrior like has to use theirs on almost everything now because so much power is rolled into it. So how is the Guardian Druid Archimon trinket, Khaelyn?
It's okay. I had actually never used it before this week when we started doing Archimon. It's like kind of underwhelming. It's like a small absorb for each hit that can't absorb more than 90% of the attack. That's based off your attack power, and being a tank, you don't really have much attack power, so it's like, meh. It's good for fights with a lot of small hits, so things like Hellfire Assault, lots of little ads wailing on you, or fights where there's damage that you can't control with Savage Defense, so anything with like a ticking magic effect or anything like that. So being a firefighter on Archimon does a lot of work because the fire is constantly ticking on me like all the time. And there's also like the shadow melee from the Death Caller. It will heal absorb some of that. So it's not a set it and forget it type trinket, but it does have its uses, which I didn't really give it a chance for a long time because it sounded really lame, but I decided to try it out.
Fair enough.
So you kind of use it. I know a lot of people like to set it and forget it, and that works for them, and that's fine. But
then what of the other trinkets then do you recommend? Are there, because you have the Tyrant's Decree, Warlords and Seeing Eye, Anzu's Cursed Plume, and of course the Imbued Stone Sigil. Are there like a better setup for Guardian Druids?
I pretty much run Warlords and Anzu's like all the time. Those are my set and forget. Tyrant's nice, like you get a lot of hit points, but the farther you get through Hellfire, especially on Mythic, things are hitting you really hard and you're constantly dropping below 60% and you're not going to keep those stacks. So it's kind of feels like a waste of a trinket slot. Whereas Warlords is pretty much doing work on every hit, and Anzu's is up pretty much like 90% of the time. So can't really argue with that.
Yeah.
Stone Sigil's like nice. So little survivability. I don't know. It's like
it's nice.
It's got versatility on it.
I could use more colorful words for that trinket, so don't worry about that.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean,
I never use it.
Everyone in the game right now has 5 trinket choices. Archimon trinket, and then there are 3. One of them is like a proc just thing. 2 of them are kind of these weird interactive things, and then 1 is a passive. So like I like how each echelon of the game has these options. And different people find different reasons for it. Like we just did range DPS last week, and the Fell Iron Piston, which is like the stat stick for casters, like Shadow Priests love it, and everyone else is like. So, what are your Archimon trinket for Brewmaster monks then? And we'll go on the other one's trinkets. For
I don't count that as a tank trinket, and that's not a bad thing. It's the Archimon trinket, like for survival, is completely garbage. You could like run without a trinket shot in that bit, and you'd probably survive better. It basically gives you a stack of elusive brew every time you drop below a certain health pool percentage. But the problem that comes from that is with the 4-piece, you rarely go below 100% unless you're gonna die. But it also increases the damage that you do when your elusive brew is up. Similar to how Windwalkers work with what's that ability, Tiger Eye Brew.
Yeah.
It actually increases it, and when it comes through, if you use it, especially the mythic variant, it's a huge DPS trait increase. It's near to like 20% on all fights if you can use it correctly. Because you can keep elusive brew up for the majority of the fight, especially if you have a very quick kill time, and it's just ridiculously powerful. Like that's how it works there. It's not really a tanking trinket though. I would definitely not count it as that, because I mean, you're not going to survive better with it. There's actually the Iron Reaver DPS trinket is better for survival than that the Archimon trinket is
That's
for Brewmaster. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the stat stick trinket.
Yeah, the Agi
for
Crit Mastery.
agility,
It's
crit
I
mastery,
actually I actually used to run with that one before I got my on fights that I didn't
makes
use
sense.
Warlords on when we were still progressing. So you kind of want to have farm going through quickly, but not too quickly. Like you don't want to. I would be using that trinket there. Tyrant's Decree on the other tank trinkets though. Tyrant's Decree, I actually used it on Iron Reaver when we first did it. What we did is because obviously you're outside of the boss's melee range the majority of that fight, and when I was running out, the stamina would just tick up and up and up and up and up, and then when the artillery hit me, I'd actually have a much higher like effective health pool. That's the only time I've used that trinket. Warlords was used on every other fight when I actually needed it for survival. So I think I used Warlords on everything past Zul'Harrak. So Zul'Harrak, Tyrant, Manoroth, and Archimon I use Warlords on. And I also use Anzu's as kind of like my set and forget, because Anzu's is just ridiculously powerful. Like 3 procs per minute is a lie because it's up the entirety of your life. Like I sometimes turn off my computer and go to
Wow.
bed, and I come back like 2 days later, I log in the game and it's still like procced. Like it's ridiculous.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like
that long.
did you use I mean you played Enhancement Shaman. Did you use Ticking Ebon Detonator in Siege of Orgrimmar or whatever it was? How like that would just proc on everything. Like you'd use your Hearthstone and that trinket would proc. That's kind of like Anzu's. Like it just procs everything.
Yeah, it procced on spells, not like offensive only. Yeah.
It was
I would lightning
ridiculous.
shield like eating my food, and it would.
Yeah, it was gross. The Imbued Stone Sigil is just god awful. Like versatility is terrible, stamina is pretty much terrible, bonus armor is decent, but it's like really under budget. I'm pretty sure like the 685 crafted bonus armor trinket is better than Mythic Imbued Stone Sigil. And
The alchemy trinket.
no, the Knight's Badge, the bonus armor.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
that's the yeah.
That's sad.
So that's actually I'm pretty sure that's
Yikes.
actually got bonus armor than Stone Sigil does. It's also kind of annoying because that is literally just a copy of the Tectus trinket from Heimel.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
No,
then on farm, use Soul Cap and Mirror of the Blade Master because I'm a scumbag and that's how it works.
As a brewmaster tank, you use those.
Yeah, it's it's
well,
well. That's when you're going for.
They
that's
both have
when you're
agility on them. I mean,
everything's over. I'm gonna go for damage. This is gonna be. It's actually disgusting because Soul Cap double dips in threat. So what it means is the damage that you do while Soul Cap's procced is counts for your threat. So you can start like hitting around, and it even though it's absorbed damage, it still counts as you generating threat. And then when the explosion happens, it doubles it up. Like it generates the explosion as counting threat as well. So
oof.
I used it on I think it was Zul'Harrak like last week, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good trinket. I did like 80k or something like that. I was like, I'm going to use this trinket next week, and I think this week I used it. It procced and it pulled both the boss and the fell add onto me as well, and the entire raid just exploded. Like it was like, all right, I'm not going to use this trinket anymore.
Are you scumbagging trinkets on farm stuff, Khaelyn, like this? You got that Mirror of the Blade Master for your guardian.
I don't have any.
How does that? Would like little bears spawn?
Yeah, but they don't spin. I found it. Someone told me they don't spin.
They just fart.
They just stand there and they just like pulse green farts.
Oh
Yeah.
man!
Same with like
4
the
spinning bears would be amazing.
I know. Same with ferals. They don't spin either. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty upset about that. But I don't actually have any DPS trinkets yet. I have the worst luck. I just replaced my Orgorger cloak with like a really bad Hellfire Assault cloak. Yeah, which I don't even want, but it's an eye level upgrade. So yeah, I don't know. Bad luck. Someday I will get DPS trinkets and I will be a scumbag just like Misume. But
Now, Misume, you just said, talking about the trinket, that versatility is bad, but
Mhm.
Sanctus, Sigil of the Unbroken, is your orange legendary ring, which I'm sure everyone just loves all legendary rings, right? Yay, they're just woo. So how is this tanky tankering working out? I mean, it gives you this synergy where the healing you do while it's procced heals both of you. It splits between the two of you, and then of course you have this huge, now buffed, versatility bonus, which is just flat damage. Damage not damage taken, DR, as well as damage done. So does how is Sanctus working out? Like, do you guys use it as like a DPS cooldown, or do you use it as survivability on certain parts of fights? Now I guess your mentality is different because it's all like farm for you, but how is your perspective on this? And then I'll go to Khaelyn after that.
I use it for DPS on every single fight. My co-tank uses it for DPS on every single fight. We delay it on Gorefiend for the feast, and the only time that we don't delay it for DPS, or that we don't use it for DPS, is on Archimonde, where we save it for. We use it on the pole, use it on cooldown when it next comes up, which is when I'm actually out soaking fire, like Khaelyn mentioned. So I get to have like 1.7 million guards, etc. And also my co-tank gets to share with me the fire damage, so we kind of split it both ways. And the other time I use it is in P2, when I have the boss, a death caller, an overseer, and I'm in the middle of like 7 different rock chaoses. That's the other time we use it, when every single thing in the world decides to hit me, and that's the other time we use it. But we actually had to start delaying it there. I think we had about like 30 or 40 wipes or something like that, where my co-tank was dying and we couldn't understand why. And we checked, and it was basically that the ring was killing him every single time he was out soaking fire, and we propped it at that phase, so we kind of had to start delaying it more. Like, he was taking like ridiculous Sanctus damage, and the fire would just kill him there as well. It's a shame, but apart from that, DPS cooldown all the way. It's not quite 50%. It's like 48 or something like that because of the way versatility works, but it's still a huge DPS increase the entire way, and I don't know why they doubled it up, but
yeah, it was a big boost in the versatility back end. Oh, yeah. So how about for Guardian Druids?
Same thing. DPS cooldown. There's there's not any fights that is really necessary. There's a couple we save it. Sometimes when we use it as a DPS cooldown, it actually just lines up perfectly to be right where we might need a tank ring cooldown anyway, so that's pretty cool. Same thing, Archimonde. We also learned that my co-tank will kill me while I'm soaking fire because the shadow damage that's supposed to be like negated by that golden orb buff thingy.
Right.
The damage is negated to him, but Sanctus doesn't negate the damage, so I take the full damage, including the extra percentage of his debuff, and you just fall over. So
really?
Same thing. Yeah, that's
you don't grab it before you go out? Like, you don't grab it?
I can't always.
Okay.
I try to, and then I'm cutting it close, and then
I just guard, so I don't know what you're doing.
I just guard. That is the most Brewmaster thing to say.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's pretty good.
We actually learned about some really nice synergy with the tank trinket on Tyrant between bears and monks. It's very interesting.
Tank
in
ring,
phase.
Tank ring.
The tank ring. Phase 2, when your health is being reduced, if you pop the ring and then your monk puts a massive guard on himself, and then you sit there and frenzy regen yourself, you break the mechanic and you can go to 100% health, and on top of that you have like this 1.5 million guard shield on you. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you just complete like the rest of your raid stuck at like 30% health, and you're sitting there pretty at like 100%. I don't know what's wrong, guys. I've got 800k.
Why does it?
Similar to how DKs work with that, in that if a DK hits Purgatory when you have the ring on, it immediately brings them out of it, and as well as that, it converts like the 10 million whatever it is absorb shield into like a Sanctus shield. So if you can get your DK to hit Purgatory, which is hard when they have Sanctus active, then you kind of just win the game. Like, that's how it works there. It's something that we learned on at the beginning of Archimonde progression, when I was standing out in soaking fire and I had literally 0% HP, but I was still alive with like this 500 mil shield on me. It was ridiculous. But
you get the shield from the no die mechanic, like the back end coding shield. That
it's kind of dumb. I don't think we ever lived after the debuff went, because we wiped around that point. It was normally when we were wiping that he would hit Purgatory, but I probably want to test it out at least once and see if that works properly, because I can see it
Wow.
like working for the 20-second duration and then the entire rate, and like you both just die because 500 million damage. But yeah,
That is awkward.
it's kind of dumb. I mean, if you could get your own shield off just before it broke, then effectively your affected health would still be an amount of your shield. You just need to be topped incredibly quickly afterwards. Yeah, that's how it would work. But it's if you want to have some fun, then try that out and maybe wipe your raid, but don't tell them I did it. So
Yeah, I don't think there's any weird interactions that, because we run with both double shield tanks. We have Prot Warrior, Prot Paladin. I don't think they've ever used it for any, because there's nothing I can think of besides like stacking damage mitigation cooldowns and both of them taking like a no damage. But because they don't have any weird health, shield barrier is not gonna do anything amazing. Shield barrier is like one auto attack from bosses right now, so weird. That's a little bit crazy, but fair enough. We're gonna move over to talents now, and we'll see how talents have changed before we get into the extra half of the show. If you have questions for our guests, of course, hold them for now. Once I do the little in-show break, oops, sorry about that, in-show break, we will do like a live Q&A with you guys. So hold that for now. But, so Guardian Druids, is it still pulverize all the things? Or
Yeah.
are you... Damn it. Really?
Yeah. They buffed Guardian of Elune, which was actually really good. There was really good buffs, but then they came out with the tier 18 set bonuses, which don't work with Guardian of Elune. So it's still pretty not very good talent. I've never used it ever, this tier at all.
Have you... Here's my only hope. Have you ever used Bristling Fur?
I used it once and I felt dirty.
Oh, God.
I know.
It.
You don't have to. Yeah, it's like you could totally. I used it on Zool. You can totally do it with Pulverize, but there's like so much target switching, and you're taking consistent big hits all the time.
Yeah.
So if you take Bristling Fur and glyph your Survival Instincts, you pretty much have a 40% plus cooldown for every single strike, and it just kind of makes it easier on your healers, especially if the ads are doing like any of their Fellblaze stuff or their Withering Gaze stuff. But yeah, I used Bristling Fur on that fight, and I felt really bad about it.
You felt bad about it.
I hate that talent so much. It's such a garbage talent. It's so bad.
It could have been... That's the one thing we talked about before back in the day, is that you just have like this rotation builder / DR built in plus damage ability, and then you have just like a really short shield wall and then like super dodge, which you don't really need. It's just like...
I mean, the super dodge would have been totally okay. It keeps up, I think it sims out that it keeps up almost perfectly with Pulverize, which is awesome because it gave people options when they didn't want to do Pulverize. Because a lot of people don't like Pulverize because it just complicates the rotation. But then they made the tier sets, and it completely negates taking GOE. So it's like, what's the point?
So then any of the other big talent notices that you've changed around? Obviously, you're using Force of Nature around, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, I'm boycotting the talent even if it becomes good because they're not little tiny bear cubs.
Yet, hopefully, but probably never.
I don't know. I've asked like several times, but it's not happening.
So now you just Soul of Forest or Incarnation if you need the other cooldown?
Yeah,
or
it's completely cookie cutter still. Nothing's changed. You still take Soul of Forest. You still take Dream of Cenarius is still your best healing throughput, and Cenarian Ward is still your best healing throughput.
Yep.
Tier of the level 15 talents you can change out as needed. They're still pretty good. I use all three actually very evenly, even
Depends
though
on the
I
encounter.
I hate that Displacer Beast swaps you into cat form still, but it's too good for certain things. So.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, having a blink is incredibly good on certain encounters. I don't imagine.
As a tank is great.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Otherwise, it's Pulverize for everything except I use Bristling on Zool. Maybe I'll stop someday.
Do you only use Bristling on like the 20% enraged phase, like when you saw the?
No, I just use it. I mean, I've got it, so I might as well use it, right?
Yeah.
Because it can be up for every other strike that I take, I think. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but there's the general rule that if you're ever considering taking Bristling Fur, instead consider glyphing your SI and keeping Pulverize. Because I mean, it's going to be the same thing pretty much. And especially with the tank ring now, you can throw that in if you need an extra cooldown or anything like that.
Fair enough. All right, then. I'm assuming we're over to you. Brewmaster Monk talents. You know,
Yeah.
walk us through. I mean,
Sure.
is what's it called again? Is Soul Dance still like the best thing ever, right?
No, Soul Dance is garbage, and it always has been, and it always will be
Damn
from
it!
everything ever. Like Soul Dance is just terrible. It's like it's not even funny how bad it actually is. It actually, like, if I could find a mod for WoW that would remove Soul Dance from my from like the bottom of my like
Your talent
talent,
book.
yeah, I would take it. Like it was
Wow.
awful. And the good news is as well is my computer is actually just turned back on. My PC like lost its internet connection, so I lost the show notes for a second. But there you go, now I'm back. That's why I was checking them on my phone.
All right.
The Soul Dance, just now. It's such a small like
Yeah.
increase in terms of, oh, it's not such a small amount. It would have to be kind of either all or nothing, or for it to kind of be usable. I would like for it to be, if you took Soul Dance, it would be a bit like how Crane Stance works for Mistweavers. Like you can swap between the two.
Hmm.
So I would kind of like to see that, in that you could have maybe when you're in Ox Stance, it would you would just be staggering physical damage, but you could swap to Soul Dance Stance or whatever they want to call it,
Right.
and you would only be able to stagger magic damage. So
Magic
you could kind of
damage.
like mix it up through the fight. Like it could have like a GCD cost or something like that, but that would be, in my personal opinion, like the kind of best way to do it. But at the moment, no, it's just not worth taking at all. I think I took it once on Zoharek, and I pretended I was disconnecting and uninstalled the game and reinstalled it just to kind of get rid of it.
Oh
Like
my
it's
gosh.
just not great. It's not good
So
at
is
all.
it just Chi Explosion or Serenity for everything basically now, depending on the encounter? Still.
Serenity is still slightly better for
Okay.
survival, but only marginally, and it's only because of the way it works with the four piece.
Just
In that
generating
you can,
more.
yeah, you can have like periods of like infinite chi, etc. for that really if it's a really short period of time, now that it got nerfed, unfortunately. But you can, it's still like useful in a emergency situation. Like I used it on Archimonde and Manaroth, I want to say. I think that was the most I used it on. I don't think I used it on any other fights for this progression. I just used Chi Explosion for everything, and on our rekills, I've just used Chi Explosion. But Serenity is still slightly better for survival. If you're having issues, just take it. It's a slightly nice cooldown. You can pop it when you're taking a huge amount of damage, and just for 5 seconds, you're staggering everything. If
Right.
you're having issues with Chi generation for guards, just take it for now. But Chi Explosion after that is pretty much the best.
Hmm. Anything
That's how
else
it works.
of note? I mean, how about like 75, like Healing Elixir, Dampen Harm, Diffuse Magic? Do these still get some wiggle room? I know these are, they have different fight mechanics that are really good at, or is
Um,
it just Dampen Harm everything still,
I
or?
flick between. No, I flick between the three of them on every fight. I don't think I use healing elixirs on anything this tier. I use it a
Hmm.
lot in BRF, but I don't think I used. Oh no, sorry, High Mall. I used it pretty much every fight. I don't
Hmm.
think I used it at all on in HFC, but don't quote me on that. Um, I just flicked between Diffuse Magic and Dampen Harm for the majority. If there was a fight where I knew I was going to be taking a lot of damage from certain melee attacks, like Hellfire Assault week 1 when the Berserkers were up for the entire year. Like it was,
Right, right,
I
right.
took it for that. I took it for Iron Reaver when you're out because you can absorb a couple of melee hits. I took it for Manaroth because it's our only real rune tap like ability, and I took Diffuse Magic for pretty much every other fight. Um, just for things like Zolharek. For Archimonde, it basically negates the Death Callers, etc. So I flick between those talents for the majority of it. There's no the other talents I think I swap between is like Chi Wave and Zen Sphere, etc. Because Chi Burst is ridiculous AoE,
Hmm.
Zen Sphere is better for single target. That's the only other ones I tend to swap out. I don't think the other ones are swapped that much. Uh, Level 90 was swapped actually a couple of times, but only once. I think I used, that's like Shuen and Rushing Jade Wind. I
Right.
think I used Rushing Jade Wind on Hellfire Assault, and everything else is just Shuen all the way. Like there's no real point in it there. But that's a the I guess Brewmasters actually have quite a lot of talent choices, having listened to Khaelyn. Like I never thought we did, but
Do
I guess we do.
you? How's the 45s with your Chi, like Ascension, Chi Brew, Power
Oh yeah,
Strikes?
I like completely forgot to mention that. Chi Brew is really good on those fights that I mentioned, like Kilrog and Manaroth, where you don't have you need to have like Elusive Brew ready for the certain tank abilities. So I take it for that sometimes if like I feel like it, because it means that you can essentially have elusive brew on demand. So if you're having issues with your crit generation, I guess every guild now tanks like Kilrog near the back of the room when you go in, like near the door you go in. I was the tank that took him on the pull, and there'd often be times where I wouldn't get a single crit until he did the first ability. So I just took Chi Brew, and it's no real issue. It's actually also the best DPS talent if you take it with what's it called, the Archimon Trinket that I mentioned, because you can just pop both of them. You can just pop both charges on the pull, and you immediately have like 10 stacks of elusive brew, and it's like a 25% damage increase on the pull. Like, it's pretty nice. But everything else, use power strikes if you're going for DPS, or if you don't have the 4-piece. And once you have the 4-piece, use Ascension for survival, because it lets you get more expel harms out and lets you guard much more often. So that's kind of how they kind of broke down a lot more, as opposed to BRF and HFC. Sorry, High Mole, where you just ran with power strikes the entire way through. That's how it works there.
Well, that's. I mean, I like that tagline you brought in there, and even Khaelyn said in the chat, "Look at me, I'm Misume. I have talent options." So
a lot of tanks don't. I mean,
that's totally true.
isn't here, but DKs. No, I don't think DKs even change anything.
Magdalena will catch up to us in 10 seconds and say talent options.
They choose between Defile and Breath if you're a scumbag, and that's it. That's all you do as a Brewmaster. Not DK even, like, but
it's pretty set in stone for certain classes. So it's good to see that you have some little bit of option there too. So that's a good thing to see. That's the whole point of this talent tree in the first place.
Oh, exactly.
I think DPS now have sort of like found ways to like really min-max based on fights. Like I move like just my level 100 talents around a little bit based on encounters, but I don't really do anything else really. I mean, I took Windwalk Totem for the first time in ever just because of Gorefiend, but that's about it, and other changing. So talent options all of 0. There it is. Yeah. So one last question I had before we get into the little mid break before we get to the live Q&A. Is there one ability or spell you'd like pruned from your class, or reverse pruned that was taken away? We'll go with Khaelyn first on this one.
Anything that I would say would be to be pruned is like stuff that I'd have to shift out for anyway, and the whole point of having to shift out is because I'm not supposed to use them. So I don't really have. What? Like soothe. Why do I have soothe? I can't soothe anything because I'm tanking it. So it's like, I don't know. Why do we even have the button? It's not on my bars. Doesn't matter. So, but as for like specific bear abilities, not really. I think I actually use them all. So, yeah.
Then I'll bring up the devil's advocate question. Do you feel that Pulverize should be baseline and you should have a new 100 talent stuff for bears?
I know a lot of people want it to be, and I wouldn't mind if it was, but honestly, all the 100 talents just need to be just taken off and redone completely. They're like, they're so bad. They don't work. I mean, Pulverize is good. GOE is good, but the problem is none of them match up well against each other, and that's the problem. It's never a choice. It's always you take one talent or you don't, and you suck. But I want that to go away. So I don't know. I know a lot of people want they actually want Wild Charge to be baseline, just like it used to be, because they feel like they shouldn't have to make that choice. I don't really agree, because I mean, we have Skull Bash, which is kind of like a ghetto Wild Charge, and I think having Wild Charge baseline and then having like a Blink plus or Feline Swiftness or whatever plus the Skull Charge, it's like it's too much. What are we, monks?
Well, I mean, you're talking about this in the monk soon-to-be Demon Hunter era, where Demon Hunters might even be more mobile.
Yeah, and like who knows what they can do? They can double jump.
Yeah, double jump and like glaive dash and like port through the nether and appear on the other side of the raid.
They're like the naked monk, so I mean, I'm expecting they can just fly everywhere.
They are. So same question
there's
to
no
you.
flying in Legion.
I
would, for pruning, I'd probably get rid of Elusive Brew, as odd as it seems, and I'd also get rid of Shuffle in the way it is now. Am I allowed to? I'm gonna take 2, because I would like to see them combined in a kind of a similar thing to how whichever Druid one it is that lets you dodge is, so we get that kind of baseline damage reduction as well. Or the best thing I could think of, because I had to kind of make a consideration about it, is that if they removed Elusive Brew and also removed the fact that Blackout Kit Gear Shuffle and made Shuffle the kind of new elusive brew. Like it's a charge system. What they could do is they could have it so that when you use this ability, your stagger can be applied to certain boss abilities, and you get like 10% extra stagger amount as well. Because that would solve the problem with all or nothing. Like you'd have a button you could use to make it all or nothing. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the best thing I could think of them doing for Brewmaster to avoid stagger from being broken or broken badly. But and I would also add back in charge because I miss it when I'm doing CMs and it's upsetting. If
Add back,
if I had charge, yeah.
add back in what?
Charge, not charge, clash, whatever. See, it's been so long that it's
Clash. There
gone
you
that
go.
I've actually forgotten what it is. But yeah, clash would be the one I get. Definitely.
Clash. There it is.
It's such a good ability, and it's the only reason they removed it, and it's one of the one abilities I've always wondered why they removed. And people said, well, it's fine because you have transcendence, you have roll, and it's like, well, it's no, because it's two very different abilities. Like clash wasn't about the fact you could move from one spot to another. It was about the fact that you could very easily pick up ads that were coming in off particular targets, and they try to kind of get around that by using the statue, by saying, well, if you put your statue down, that'll pick up targets for you. And it's like, well, no, it's not quite the same. Like if you had clash, it would be a much more useful way of kind of picking up certain ads, like the gore fiend ad that kind of spawns at the back of the room and things like that. Sometimes I would go into Blizzard HQ and I would flick the undo switch on that particular talent, unfortunately, or ability.
Yeah. We'll have to see. I don't know if they're gonna. It sounds like we'll have to see because we didn't really get any info about the class changes at the launch panel at Gamescom. So they're holding that all for BlizzCon, I'm sure. I really hope they. I can't imagine they're gonna go through every class and spec and really go through all 34 of them. What's changing at BlizzCon? I would. It'd be great. At least have slides for their supposed changes because a whole lot's going to change too. Because some classes felt under-pruned and some classes felt over-pruned. Some classes had abilities they still don't ever use, or ones that are still just macroed into other abilities, or have all these different cooldowns that like, yeah, I have cooldowns to have cooldowns. Woo.
I think you'd have to pay for a second ticket if you wanted to have that kind of there. Like it would be twice as long as BlizzCon, unfortunately.
Yeah, that would be a thing. I don't know. Well, be all good on that. I'll take a little bit of time to plug some things, and then we'll get into the live Q&A. This will be just a little wrap-up section here. Maybe people might in chat not know where to find all the other Final Boss TV-oriented stuff, but of course it's just on the website at FinalBoss.tv. I have not updated the post yet because I wanted to plug the Square Table chat again. If you haven't seen and watched this episode, of course I sat down with Preach Gaming, Novel the Noble, Kelric, Bellular, and Alt Chat a couple weeks ago to talk all about the state of the game and things we want to see, and just a big like live theory crafting talk show kind of deal, which was a lot of fun. The week before that, of course, we did sit down and interview Sko Rotherbrown and Sunny about or Sunny about their Mythic World First. So it's funny to see what they talked about now and how the rating has changed for the World First race with Method, and how much everything has sort of evolved with the ring meta. But of course, you can find all that on our website. It's at finalboss.tv. You can submit questions on upcoming episodes, as well in the Ask a Boss section. You can submit a application if you want to be a guest on the show. The donate button here links you to how you can support the show, as well as the podcast. If you want to listen to the audio-only versions, you can find us on iTunes and Stitcher as well. Additionally, all of our episodes and all of our other side content is all archived right there on our YouTube page, all down below. The side content I make, the kill videos from my POV, the stuff I do with the chat, and then all of the past episodes are all playlisted and backed up and ready for your disposal whenever you want to go watch anything. We have a bajillion things on our YouTube. You can go check it all up there. And, of course, if you haven't seen it already yet, we have these awesome shirts right now through Kedistra. We have the new Method shirt that you can actually purchase, as well as the Illidan, or Lillidan, Arthas and Cindy, as well as the Little Firelord, all up on our Design by Humans page. All of this stuff goes, of course, you can always blame the Sparkle Dragon, too. Everything goes to support the show. I have a very back and forth way about supporting Final Boss TV that if you want to do so, you can get something back for it. I don't like just donations, stuff like that. So the shirts are amazing. I'm going to be having all of them soon. I'll be bringing a bunch of them to give away at BlizzCon this year as well. So if you bump into me at BlizzCon, then I might give you a shirt. Who knows? But enough about all this stuff. Let's talk about things that chat wants to know about. let us discuss and take some questions. If you have, you can throw it in right here in the chat, or you can hit me up on FinalBossTV on Twitter, and we will take your questions for the next about 15 to 20 minutes or so. If you guys have anything you are curious about or we didn't actually go over in the show specifically. Zillion's question that came in when we start out. Do you have any tips for tanking Mythic Velhari because of the hitbox issue and the happy feet that both the ads and the boss tend to have? Because they cry?
Yeah, just man up and live with it, basically.
Fetal position and cry it out. Yeah.
Well, that's not the answer I was hoping for.
No, that's the answer, unfortunately. It's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
sad.
there
but,
is nothing
yeah.
you can do.
It's just because of the small hitboxes.
Unfortunately, it's because I believe it's because of the way that there's like a lot of people like with theories about it, like it's about the time of day or it's how like the moon is in the sky, but a lot of people think it's because of the movement speed increases that certain tanks will gain, especially from Power Word Shield. Like if you have Body and Soul, and it's something about how when they change the servers to be more responsive, certain ads like or certain bosses they try to react to you with the like the speed buff or whatever on you, and they move like too far as if you were going to be moving that far there, and that's kind of how it works, unfortunately. But I mean, it's if you're a monk, you can transcendence back down. Like you can put your transcendence in, you can just transcendence back down if you ever get knocked back or anything like that. But really, there's not a whole lot you can do apart from just kind of cross your fingers and pray that it works.
It's when they changed the server response packaging, which now polls every 30 to 50 milliseconds, where used to like a packet of a 400. Yeah, now bosses react to you so much faster now. I don't think there's any boss you can tank push ever again. Because if you try to tank push it, it'll just like stand there and you walk through it, hit you in the ass. So, which was such a huge bonus for tanking. It's positioning, like mostly tank push only works on like big bosses. I used to only work on big bosses, like dragons and stuff like that. But now, I wish they would hard code something in to have boss movement still like react a little slower, so you don't get that issue, because it is pretty terrible.
It's a shame. But...
It's not even my perspective as a melee. It mostly only came to a head on Mythic Tyrant Velhari when like the tank would move to adjust, and then the boss is like rare, and then I'm not gonna run after it because of the movement speed aura, and I can't like move because of the fire phase, whatever. I just stand there. So it's terrible from a melee perspective. And then of course if the boss like runs way far away, it gets out of range, and your tank has to go chase it to bring it back in. That's a problem for healers. And yep.
There's a GIF that my code tank posted that I'll try and find in the middle of the show of Tyrant behaving on one of our kills. It's pretty disgusting.
The Giphy one that someone made on Reddit.
Yeah, that was our raid. That's my code tank.
Is it really? Nice.
Yeah, that's the ad just parsing backwards and forwards in the middle of the room. It's just, it's disgusting, unfortunately.
Core Mash wants to know, what's your preferred off tank? Go with Khaelyn first. If you could pick like a perfect.
I haven't tanked with like a paladin or DK at all this expansion. Well, I mean, no, pretty much at all. So I can only really say from a warrior or a monk standpoint. I don't really have an opinion between the two. They're both good. I get vigilance from my warrior co-tank, so that's cool. But then when I use the ring, I get a sweet guard from my monk co-tank. So both are good. I don't have a preference. It's all about the player, really, not really the class. So
pretty much.
Any thoughts on that, Misume? Yeah.
I like DK co-tanks just because an extra Gorfiends in the raid is always delicious, and me and Gorfiends have always kind of like not Gorfiends, sorry, me and DKs have always done like kind of equal amounts of threat, I'd say. Whereas a warrior, you occasionally have sudden death trying to pull off you. With a paladin, you have that opening burst, as well as a druid. Like if you have the berserking opening burst, so DKs have always been pretty even with monks this tier. So I think I've always tanked with a DK actually. My old guild I was a DK, this guild it's a DK. So yeah, just DKs all along the way. If I'm not playing a DK, I want to tank with one basically. That's how it worked out.
How about this? Gets a little subjective, I think. It'll be funny to tie this into next episode. Outside of Discipline and Holy Paladins, what are your favorite healers to have around?
Resto Druid. because Ironbark is god tier. Like,
Resto Druid.
yeah, Resto Druid. We actually have 2 Resto Druids, and it's delicious. Like, you can just roll Ironbarks like the majority of the time. It's I actually got so used to Ironbarks, just I ended up calling it on fights where we realized that it was a sign for something else, and it's upsetting. But definitely, definitely Resto Druid in my opinion.
Khaelyn?
I haven't had a Resto Druid since the beginning of BRF.
Aww.
I know, and I wish we did because I like Ironbark, but so I don't really know how they're doing right now. But odd answer, but I really like Resto Shaman. Maybe I just like my Resto Shaman because she's amazing. But those heals, when you're low, those heals, they're like it's like, oh, did I get my lay on hands? And no, she just healing waved me. No big deal.
No big deal.
No big deal. But yeah, well, because you wouldn't let me choose the other two, so.
You can take a holy. I'd take a holy priest as my option. If you want to take Resto Druid, I'll go with holy priest, because
Jack will be happy you said that.
Guardian Spirit is ridiculously powerful in my opinion.
Not gonna lie, I actually kind of forgot Holy Priest for a thing because I haven't seen one in a long time. I'm sorry.
I think we killed Archimon 30th out of every single guild in the world, and we were the second guild to use a holy priest. So there you go. It's
Really?
they're slightly underrepresented right now, kind of top tier.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you only 4 heal most every fight, and you need a holy paladin, a disciplined priest, and usually Resto Shaman. So like your one other one is like, who's that spot for? So
yeah.
it's
Millennia in chat mentioned our holy priest spent most of the tier wanting to actually play as Mixed Reaver, but that's kind of the case there.
Huh. I mean, we'll talk about that next week when I announce what's going to come on the show, which is a slight hint, but it's a weird state for, because they already have 6 healers. Now you're about to have 6 tanks, so you're gonna have the same weird issues that the healers run into and have been running into now for a long time. Is that there's only so many spots for your healers, so who doesn't get to go? And the same thing's gonna happen for tanks, even more so now too, which I don't know how it's gonna work. Freaking 6 tanks. Wah.
That's fine.
Be
Most
fine.
of the tanks who are playing it will probably be. Actually, I'll use the Blizzard excuse. The people who are going to roll Demon Hunter tanks. I forgot what the actual class was called. I nearly called it Doom Lord, which would be a really cool player
Yeah,
class.
Doom Lords.
The people who are going to be
Vengeance
playing
tanks.
Demon tanks are more than likely people who are already playing tanks already, but obviously we all know that's not the case at the moment.
I feel kind of bad for high-end progression main tanks, because you usually have to have every tank, because as patches swing, you need to be able to like change to a tank that is like more powerful than others. So
I have everything except a druid, because I never level my druid. It's just...
Wow, that's rude.
How do you do this?
She's
I know,
sitting right next.
I'm right here.
I know. Well, do you have a Brewmaster monk, Khaelyn?
Me?
She does.
Yeah.
I do.
Oh well.
I do.
Such a scumbag, Misume.
I know.
Gosh.
I did this for him. And
Well, you don't have a warrior,
this
so
is how
I
he
mean that's
treats
why I have a warrior, DK, Brewmaster, and whatever.
Mm.
It's paladin. So I mean I'm like 2 ahead of you maybe.
So is
No.
that is that telling on which is like your least favorite other tank to play? The one you don't have level?
I just never got around to leveling it. Like I always try and level in. I go into it and then I hit Fresh when I'm in a dungeon, and then I just log out again. That's basically it. I'll do like 1 dungeon and then I just kind of get bored of him. I mean he has like 3 buttons at the moment on a push, so it's
Yep, they do. That's.
I mean, at max level you have 4. No, sorry, 5. So it gets more exciting.
It gets more
You 5 fighting,
exciting.
sometimes 6.
gone. There we
I
go.
Oh my goodness. So this is not sure if we'll discuss. What do you think of the overabundance of externals in modern tanking, with externals able to cover nearly everything in any given fight?
It depends, really. I go back to like SOO and stuff like that, and I don't remember even using like I think I maybe used Hand of Sack once in the entirety of Siege. I used externals on Siegecrafter and that other boss Proc, like the giant dinosaur, and that was it. Like I couldn't even remember having to pay attention to externals nearly as much as this raid or this expansion. But I don't know if I like it or if I don't. It definitely reduces you in certain raid comps when you have less actual like kind of less actual externals in your raid comp. If you are the kind of guild that for some reason is running 7 like Resto Shamans, then you're going to be kind of screwed with that. But
7.
well, you know,
Right.
That's like 7 Spiritling totems. You just drop them one after the other for the entire fight. So.
14 actually, but you know.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, 14, yeah. That's how it works out.
I'm actually the opposite. I don't think I've ever not used externals as much as this expansion,
Hmm.
and that's because they made my shield wall have 2 charges. I mean, when you pop your shield wall, you don't really ever need 12 seconds of 50% reduction. You usually just do it because there's like a little 3-second window where you might need it. So having those 2 charges, just I never use externals ever. My co-tank uses them all.
I wonder if that's an important evolution of the game, though, because you need to rely on your healers not only to heal you, but also to have cooldowns for certain abilities. Like, it synergizes well, right? Like, you have your own, but there are periods of time where you don't always get to have one for yourself.
Yeah.
So is it okay that you have to, like, communicate that? Because sometimes that's, like, the biggest funny thing I find from watching kill videos sometimes. And I've harped on my tanks about this before too. Is it's like I need something, and then like 7 cooldowns hit them. Whereas you need to have it like planned out. Like I need a sack here from this person. Was the stupid bubble life cocoon from a Misume over here. Like you time it out.
That's
so,
not external. That's just.
Hey, it's a big power.
It's a big heal, but
yeah.
I think planning externals with your healers is fine. That's okay gameplay. I think that externals need probably taken away from the DPS specs, like having a bunch of rep pallies with sack is kind of like ridiculous, or warriors with vigilance. I think that's it, just the 2. But I think it'd be better if it was.
You could argue smoke bomb.
Yeah,
I think we use smoke bomb on some fights, but I can't honestly remember, like off the top of my head. I think we used it as an external almost on some fights. Archimond Mythic, we used it when we kind of ran out of stuff. Yeah, on the tanks. The rogue would just run in and smoke bomb the tanks and then run away. That's how he does it.
Gotcha. So then how it was brought up about artifacts. Do you have any thoughts about the artifacts? Khaelyn, I think that the biggest Druid thing right now is you're hoping for that all of your forms are getting redone and VU'd, because it looks like the kitty cat one at least changes your exteriors. So bears
I'm
and
sure that they
boomkins.
are. And they just weren't ready to show it. They better, because it's really boring. And if I'm the only one who has to still look the same, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'm hoping for more than just 2 options, maybe. Maybe there will be like customizable colors and stuff. Maybe I could be a naked bear with tattoos.
Can't. Aren't you already naked as a bear? Unless you use what's it called? That ability I can't remember the name of.
I can have no fur. I don't know.
What's the ability that gives you like armor as a bear?
That's incarnation.
Incarnation.
Yeah.
No one uses that anymore though, so I don't get to have fun with that. Yeah.
It's not even. It doesn't change your model like that too. Like Boomkins always use it, but all it just gives you armor.
Checks armor on you, which I guess is like something, but it's only for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but cool.
So I mean, you're probably gonna get just I would imagine just a staff for bears.
Yeah. Well.
And then Brewmaster's also getting a staff, right?
I don't know. Mischievous is getting a staff, but they haven't shown the Brewmaster one off. It'd be cool if it was something more interesting than that. Like, I'd actually like to see dual wield Brewmasters again. I think it would be pretty cool. Like fist weapons, I always thought were my favorites for for when I was playing Windwalker and Brewmaster in MOP. But honestly, it's we'll probably get a staff. It'll probably have a keg on it somewhere. It'll probably have an ox on it somewhere. That's basically it. That's going to be the artifact for us. I'd like to see I'm less interested in what the artifact looks at and more interested in kind of the things that they add to the artifact. I want to see kind of what talent choices and things like that they have. Well, not talent choices, sorry. Kind of what's the word? What is it they call it? Like augment kind of choices, I guess.
The artifact power you unlock.
Yeah,
skills and
I'd like to
and
see.
things.
I'd like to see what they do with that with Brewmaster, definitely. But as for how it looks, it'll be a staff. It'll have a K on it and it'll have a dox on it, and that'll be it.
I mean, I don't understand why. I don't know if they don't have the technology isn't available yet or something to give Brewmasters dual wielding, but you literally dual wield like a staff and a keg, so you'd have like the Chen Stormstout look going on. Because you don't have that at all. Maybe that's just too unique. It should only stay on Chen. But I wonder. We get like 2 weapons. Your artifacts is 2 weapons, and you get to like customize what your staff looks like, which counts as a one-hander, and then your keg counts as a one-hander as well. I don't know.
There's a possibility if that was the case.
Would that be cool, or are you just gonna get
It
like
would be really cool, but then you got to realize how are they going to do the other looks of it? Because obviously, like, well, I guess Ashbringer has like the different looks, and that's kind of an iconic model. But I don't know how I'd feel about like a fell infused Chen like keg, which it just looked like a Monster Energy can,
Why not?
honestly,
Yeah,
like green
yeah.
out of it, stuff like that. Like, no, it'd be pretty cool. I quite like it, but honestly, fist weapons would be where I would personally like them to go. They're not going to, but I always like fist weapons there. It's a shame, but.
It's a lot of options because we don't know. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do yet because like Doomhammer is kind of like a 1 and a 1/2 hander. It's not like only a one
It's
hander.
like a spirit hander because you have the other one on the side there. Yeah.
Yeah. Or the new theory craft that was bopping on Twitter today is that Thrall's gonna despair, so I get his Doomhammer, and then I get alternate Draenor's Doomhammer as well from.
That would be cool.
So
That
I
would
just get
be a cool idea.
one has a Frostwolf on it and one doesn't. Oh, it's so ridiculous.
No, that would definitely be. I would probably start playing my shaman again, honestly, if that was the case, because that is definitely a cool idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna be because it's weird because like the bear ones and the because they showed it off when they showed the feral kitties at Gamescom that it changes your outward appearance so it actually looks like something. So they have to do that for boomkins and they have to do that for bears. So
I'm sure they will.
I just don't know if they're just give brewmasters a staff on their back and you never even really use it unless you jab, but you can even glyph out of that. So your staff just like sits on your back the whole time and nothing happens.
Yeah, I mean it's. I don't know how they could do it really, because I mean, what are they going to do if you have the keg underneath your arm the entire time? Like you're just going to be kind of like you are literally going to be one-handing because you're going to be punching with one hand and just holding this keg. That's all you can do.
No way, Chen bops with that keg though.
I haven't played Chen in Heroes of the Storm, so that would be
he
it.
totally
I haven't
does.
seen him.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
He has like ropes that he holds onto on the side of the keg and he bops you with it sometimes. Yeah. But
That should be interesting.
yeah.
Just like slam them inside a keg like in a like an old Looney Tunes cartoon and things like that. So the
It's
boss
also-
has just this keg around them with his arms out. Yeah, I could deal with that.
Yeah. When people chat brings up Gragas from League of Legends with the keg and the whole double hand bunk thing.
Yeah.
It could work. I don't know. Thematically it would look cool, but they did like that's a lot of new animations they have to actually make work on all the different
You'd
classes.
have
It's
to do
probably
it
not gonna happen.
A panda would look good with it, but I don't think like a blood elf would look good with it. Like this scrawny thing carrying this
I
giant.
know their little keg under their arm. Like it's just like it looks like a can of soda compared to the people. Oh yeah, it probably wouldn't work. It'd be cool though. It's probably just be a staff.
I would. Yeah. I get two.
Any other questions? Nothing really came up on Twitter. Just the Holy Priest stuff with Jack popped up.
It's a question about how easy it was for people to get into tanking, I think.
Yeah, how hard would it be to get into tanking compared to other roles?
I mean, I started off as a tank. When I actually started playing, I started playing on EU realms in Dragon Soul, and I was terrible. So it's not much has changed, but I used like PvP gear on a Blood DK and things like that. But getting into it, I mean, it's not too bad, I guess. You just have to be ready to put up with some criticism for the main part. People are obviously, if you go into like a pug or something and something goes wrong, a lot of times they're going to blame the tanks.
Yep.
That's the kind of big one. Tanks and healers, those would be the other ones that you get there. But it's really just put some thick skin on, go into it, and have fun. Don't worry, you'll probably die a lot the first time you do it, but doesn't mean you're a bad player. It just means you're getting used to it, in my opinion.
Khaelyn, what do you think?
It pretty much sums it up. I mean, if you're in a pug, it's actually never the DPS's fault. It's always the tank's fault or the healer's fault, but I mean, just ignore it and keep trying. You're never gonna learn if you don't try.
It's because like tank mess ups, I guess, are much more obvious than a DPS mess up. Though. So like if a DPS messes up and half the raid dies, they're gonna be like, well, what happened? Like it was one of these DPS that did it. If a tank messes up and the boss runs to the other side of the room or something, it's obviously gonna be. I mean, I messed up a lot when progression on Zul'Harek, for instance, and it was obvious when I did because I mean I was playing at like 5 a.m. my time. There was a purple swirl on the floor underneath a purple ad, underneath a purple fire. Like there's just so much purple. And like if I messed up, the entire raid exploded. So it was obvious on that fight. Whereas if a DPS messed up, it's not quite as severe. So you just have to be kind of ready to kind of, I guess, get over it if you do make mistakes.
You can always, I think any group, when you're learning how to tank, will understand pulling less and not motorboating through an entire dungeon. I have a horror story that I actually got kicked on my little alt priest doing time walking, the last time walking event for Shattered Halls, because the Brewmaster monk tank thought he was immortal and double rolled all the way down the gauntlet hallway and pulled everything and died, blamed me, and Mivo kicked me.
I did apologize for that. You don't have to bring it up here. Like,
so like, don't do that as a tank.
Basically,
don't do that as a tank, because that is all your fault. Like that's the biggest thing you can say. Obviously, standing in the wrong thing or over pulling will kill you. You can only DR so much. So don't do that nonsense. But anything else you want to leave your respective communities with, Misume? Anything for the Brewmasters?
Just guard more. That's basically it. Like you'll be fine.
More.
Just hit guard. Just guard more than you already are, and you'll be fine for that there.
Words to live by, Khaelyn.
Just strive for millions of hit points. If you have more hit points than the boss, you're superior, and they'll just give up.
If they combine them, then you could touch the boss, like touch a death the boss from like 4 million.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's how you work it.
If we could pop the tank ring and then somehow get like
And it
touch of death as
shares
an
the
ability.
health pool entirely, so that you I do that.
Yeah.
I do that.
Be good.
Definitely.
Ridiculous.
So if we could get that, that'd be good.
I think that's the best way to end. We're gonna hit the button on that one. That's just we're there. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of FinalBossTV, episode number 94 for the catch-up for Warlords of Draenor. Again, we were supposed to have a blood DK on this show, but we're gonna push that together into the plate tank episode in the future, of course. We're gonna table again for our guests. Joining us for the first time, there's Misume. He does stuff in Whatever We're Awesome. I guess he's kind of good at this game. You can follow him on Twitter at Misume WWA. It was Misume Monk, but now it's WWA at the end. Yes.
Yeah, I changed it, which got confusing, but yeah.
People can ask you questions on Twitter and complain to you about Brewmaster stuff, or ask you about Demon Hunters in the expansion, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, perfect. And then there's Khaelyn. You can also follow her on Twitter as well and get links to her write-ups and things. The write-ups you do on bosses are pretty awesome. On Picture Spare.
Thank you.
Well, you're always getting them before me, so I look at them and see if it's like, are there any tank tips in this that I can pass along? So I've looked at them a couple times. Yeah, they're really
The problem is they're all like bear tank tips, so if you don't have bear, it's kind of like,
Sure.
eh.
That's fair. You can follow her on Twitter at Khaelyn with an A on the end, so Khaelyn, because someone stole it.
Yep.
But thank you for being on the show again. It was awesome. It was a pleasure to have you both on. And again, next week will be another catch-up episode. There'll be one more catch-up episode, and then the week after that one will be a little special sit-down with Nixon and Mookluk and a special little world premiere funny machinima two-parter that we are putting together for that. Well, mostly them. I'm like doing a voice for it, but it's all them. So next week is going to be Holy Priest, Disciplined Priest, and Holy Paladin. So we can talk about all of the bubbles that absorb nonsense in one episode and the one component that wants to fight against the bubble hierarchy, regime, overlords. And hopefully we'll do that. Guests and who's going to be on the show next week will be on social media, on Twitter and Facebook soon. If you have questions for Holy Priest, Disciplined Priest, or Holy Paladin, send me the Ask Boss link right now. They help me to make the show notes and everything I have to not forget. But we'll see you in the YouTube comments. See you on Twitter later. This will be up on YouTube tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube right now, hello! But until tomorrow, everyone, thanks you for watching. And trust in your seal of inevitable, possibly Warforged gold. And until next week, everybody. Bye! Bye-bye! Wave at nice people! Wave! 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 Tell them goodbye! Wave! That's it.
I'm going to the desk.
It's alright. That's good. I like it. It's good.